Have you ever had this experience? You thought something was really important, so you said a lot about it only to find that misunderstandings piled up and the relationship grew distant? Have you ever felt like the more you talk, the more you lose? Our society tends to evaluate people who talk more as being more capable, or believes that you need to actively express your opinions to be recognized. But is that really true? Schopenhauer emphasized the importance of speaking less in human relationships countless times. He deeply understood the power of language and its accompanying dangers, leaving us with precious wisdom about how we should handle our words. We communicate through words, exchange information, and share emotions. But sometimes those words become sharp blades that hurt us, or damage precious relationships. Like fire, when used well, it provides warm comfort, but when mishandled, it can burn everything down. That's the dual nature of words. So why should we speak less? Is it simply to avoid mistakes? Or is there a deeper meaning hidden beneath? And how can we wisely use this powerful tool, called language, to make our lives and relationships more enriching? Today, through this video, I want to explore these answers together with you. If you like today's topic, please subscribe and hit the like button. I'll reward you with content that adds wisdom to your life. First words invite mistakes. Have you ever heard this saying? The fewer words, the better. Or speech is silver, silence is golden. These are things older people often say, right? These words contain deep wisdom, accumulated through humanity's experiences over long years. The more you talk, the exponentially greater the chance that you'll make unintended slips, unintentionally hurt others, or create unnecessary misunderstandings. The fact that many conflicts and disputes in human relationships start precisely with words. You've probably experienced this in your own life, especially as we age and gain more social experience. Our confidence in our knowledge and experience naturally grows stronger. While this confidence sometimes works positively, it can also lead to being trapped in our own perspective, giving hasty advice, or trying to judge and evaluate others. At such times, reducing your words becomes the wisest way to minimize mistakes, avoid unnecessary friction, and protect yourself. Every day through the media, we encounter examples of politicians' verbal blunders. Their single word sometimes has tremendous ripple effects, changing national policy directions, moving public opinion, and even determining their political survival. The same applies to us ordinary people. Even if it's not of national interest, a single slip of the tongue can bring irreversible consequences to one's social life or family relationships. For example, gossip about your boss, or a colleague's personal story that you let slip at a drinking session. After work might spread throughout the workplace the next day and cause trouble for you. Or a small family argument might escalate into emotional abuse, leaving lasting scars for a long time. Why do we repeat mistakes? Even though we know we should be careful with our words, usually it's because of the unconscious habit of speaking without thinking deeply. The more you talk, the less time you have to think, and the higher the chance you'll pour out your brain theories, unverified information, or words, arising simply from your mood without any filtering. This is like robbing yourself of the opportunity to think once more before speaking. Therefore, if we consciously reduce our words, we can escape from the impulsive habit of speaking without thinking and learn to more carefully organize and express our thoughts and emotions. This significantly reduces the possibility of unnecessary mistakes and increases our sense of responsibility for what we say. Reducing words isn't just about self-control, it's an active effort to reflect on and improve your language habits, and an important defense mechanism to protect yourself. Second, speaking less strengthens your action power. Being talkative can sometimes be a paradoxical sign that you're actually lacking in action. When we have some goal or plan, we often brag about it to people around us, or spend a lot of time explaining how grand the plan is. We say, "I'm going to do this," or "I'm going to start that" countless times. But when it comes to execution, we often procrastinate or fail to complete it properly. The common trait of people who are criticized as all talk lies right here. Talking too much can create the illusion that you've already accomplished the task. You consume so much energy through words that there's no energy left to actually take action. This is a phenomenon that can be explained. Psychologically, merely expressing goals in words can give the brain some sense of achievement, which can weaken the motivation for actual action. Schopenhauer deeply understood this human tendency. He believed that conserving words ultimately becomes the important driving force that concentrates our energy in one direction and leads to action. When we reduce our words, we stop unnecessarily scattering our inner energy outward. and can focus entirely on achieving our goals. In other words, we prevent the phenomenon of increasing empty conversations, filled with words for the sake of words or pretense, and instead focus on concrete actions and persistent practice. For example, when you have a new project or personal goal, instead of hastily telling everyone around you, it's better to quietly refine your plan and silently put it into practice. That way, you can be free from unnecessary evaluation or interference from others, and focus only on your plan and execution. In this process, we can resolve anxiety about an uncertain future, experience more achievements, and feel the true joy and satisfaction of action. When we reduce our words, we can escape from unnecessary arguments or self-promotion and establish a self-directed life attitude that focuses only on building our lives solidly. Silence isn't mere quietness, it becomes a powerful, driving force that builds inner strength and promotes action. Third, speaking less increases your attractiveness. Do you know someone who doesn't talk much, but somehow feels mysterious, deep, and dignified? Such people generally tend not to reveal everything about themselves easily. By conserving your words, you provide others with the opportunity to understand and get to know you more deeply, which can increase your attractiveness in the long term, rather than revealing everything from the start or pouring out all your thoughts and emotions. It's wise to gradually open yourself up in pace with the relationship's development. Like unwrapping a beautifully wrapped gift one piece at a time, you guide the other person to discover and explore your inner charm on their own. By doing this, you can be perceived not as a mere information transmitter, but as an interesting person worth exploring, especially personal weaknesses, negative stories, or deep feelings that aren't yet sufficiently organized. It's better to save these for later, rather than hastily revealing them in the early stages of a relationship. Imposing a heavy emotional burden on someone from the start, or excessively exposing your flaws can actually make the relationship burdensome, or plant negative preconceptions about you in the other person's mind. The habit of thinking carefully and choosing your words makes others perceive you as thoughtful and trustworthy. Also, when you conserve your words, the other person will place greater weight on each of your words and listen more attentively. This brings the effect of increasing the value of what you say. And importantly, the better things are going, the more you should reduce your words and be careful to avoid unnecessary jealousy and envy from others. When we're happy, when good things happen, or when we achieve great success, not everyone genuinely congratulates us. Jealousy is one of humanity's universal characteristics, and sometimes it appears more easily from our closest friends, colleagues, or even family members. If you boast too much about your success stories or excessively reveal your good fortune, you can become the target of unnecessary envy and jealousy. This can poison relationships and even lead to attempts to undermine or obstruct your success. Conserving words is a wise method that protects yourself while leaving others with a deeper, more humble and prudent impression. You should always remember that hasty self-disclosure or excessive self-promotion can actually become your weakness. It's important to find balance between revealing yourself and protecting yourself, and conserving words is a key strategy for maintaining this balance. Fourth, the shorter and clearer your words, the better your core message gets across. We often use expressions like rambling on or going off on a tangent. In such cases, no matter how good the content the speaker is delivering, the core message often gets diluted in a flood of unnecessary information, fails to be properly conveyed to the listener, causes misunderstandings, or induces boredom. Rather than long, complex sentences or repetitive explanations, short, concise sentences that penetrate to the core have much greater resonance and persuasiveness. A single expression that accurately hits the core sometimes exerts more powerful influence than numerous flowery phrases or detailed explanations. Modern people living in this age of information overload value efficient communication even more. For example, in workplace meetings or important presentations, you've probably experienced that someone who delivers only the main points concisely and clearly is far more persuasive and engaging than someone who explains the core content at length. This is because people have an instinctive tendency to quickly grasp and understand the essence among much information within limited time. Practicing reducing words and focusing only on the core will dramatically improve your communication skills. Expressing your intentions clearly without unnecessary extras helps the other person understand and adds greater credibility to your message. Furthermore, the habit of speaking concisely makes your thinking itself clearer and helps trim unnecessary mental fat. The ability to simplify complex problems and grasp the core directly connects to leadership and problem-solving abilities. Ultimately, reducing words isn't just about silence, it's the art of more effective, powerful, and intelligent communication. If you want to accomplish more through your words, you should start by reducing unnecessary words first. Fifth, reducing words plays a decisive role in improving relationships. We often make the mistake of reacting immediately with words to unexpected situations or others' remarks when negative emotions or thoughts arise, without thinking deeply, thereby worsening the situation or making relationships irreparable. Such impulsive reactions usually lead to regret. At such times, it's very important to pause for a moment, recognize your emotions, and take time to check your thoughts once more. This brief pause moment prevents unnecessary verbal mistakes and greatly helps improve interpersonal relationships in the long run. Rather than reacting immediately and emotionally to the other person's words, you take a breath and get the opportunity to consider the meaning behind those words and the other person's true intentions. This breathing room helps you communicate in a wiser and more thoughtful way. Also, reducing words directly connects to the importance of listening. When we conserve our words, we naturally gain mental and temporal space to listen more attentively to what others are saying. We come to understand more deeply what the other person really wants to say, what emotions they're feeling, and from what background they're speaking. Beyond merely hearing, active listening that tries to empathize and understand from the other person's perspective gives them the feeling that they're respected and that their story has value, making the relationship more solid and close. People feel greater trust and connection with those who genuinely listen to and understand their stories. Therefore, reducing words and wholeheartedly listening to others' stories is the most powerful and effective key to improving relationships. Sometimes just nodding silently while listening to someone's story provides great comfort and empathy, and you can form deep relationships where hearts connect even without saying much. This isn't mere silence. It's the most active and sincere act of expressing deep interest and respect to the other person. Understanding gained through listening reduces misunderstandings, prevents conflicts, and becomes the foundation for forming deep bonds with each other. Sixth, the wisdom of speaking less as you age. As we live, we accumulate much experience and knowledge. Especially as we age, it's natural for our insight into the ways of the world and people to deepen. However, such rich experience and knowledge can sometimes be a double-edged sword. Relying too much on your own experience and knowledge can make it difficult to accept new perspectives and trap you in fixed ideas. At such times, the wisdom of speaking less shines even brighter. As we age, we often tend to give advice to juniors or younger generations based on our experiences. Of course, sharing life wisdom is a positive act. But the problem arises when that advice is given without sufficient consideration of whether it's truly helpful to the other person or whether it's advice they want. My successful experience might be completely unsuitable for someone else's situation, or my knowledge may no longer be valid due to changing times. Hasty advice can sometimes become nagging or burden the other person, actually distancing the relationship. The reason why stories starting with "back in my day" give young people a sense of rejection lies right here. Even though my intention might be good, from the other person's perspective, it can feel like unnecessary interference. Therefore, as we age, it's important to reduce words and exercise the virtue of listening. We should carefully judge whether our advice is truly necessary for the other person, and whether the information we have is appropriate for their current situation. By reducing words and listening to the other person's story first, we can reduce unnecessary misunderstandings and open the path to true communication that transcends age and generation. This doesn't mean unilaterally conveying my experience and wisdom, but maintaining an open attitude of growing and learning together with the other person. Reducing words is an important attitude that further deepens the wisdom that comes with aging. Finally, the power of silence and self-reflection. Reducing words doesn't just change how we communicate with the outside world, it also has a profound impact on strengthening internal communication with ourselves. During our silence, our hearts and minds can escape from external noise, find peace, and sink into deep times of self-reflection. When we don't consume energy constantly pouring out words or reacting to others' words, we can finally listen to our inner voice. This is an essential process for understanding ourselves more deeply, clarifying our emotions and thoughts, and setting the direction we should move forward. Modern society is filled with far too much information and noise. Smartphone notifications, TV advertisements, endless conversations. We don't have a moment of quiet. In such an environment, silence isn't mere absence, it becomes a conscious choice and powerful tool. Silence provides us with the opportunity to grasp the essence of complex problems and gain intuitive insights. It's not unrelated that great thinkers and artists gained creative inspiration in solitude. When we reduce words and have time for silence, we come to face our inner selves honestly. Who am I, and what do I truly want? What values do I want to pursue in life? What are my strengths, and what needs improvement? The process of finding answers to these questions deepens self-understanding and promotes personal growth. Also, silence greatly helps with emotional regulation. When we feel angry or anxious, by not reacting immediately and remaining silent for a moment, we can prevent emotions from intensifying and gain the breathing room to rationally judge the situation. In the waves of intense emotions like anger or frustration, silence is like an anchor that keeps us steady. In this way, reducing words goes beyond mere changes in language habits. It's a core ability necessary for improving quality of life, gaining inner peace, and living as your true self. Conclusion. In conclusion, reducing words goes beyond simply being silent. It's a wise way of living that protects yourself, focuses on action, increases attractiveness, communicates effectively, and forms better relationships. The habit of conserving words will make your life more enriching and meaningful. How about starting the practice of speaking less from today? You'll surely experience amazing changes. Remember that silence is never a symbol of weakness. It's an expression of inner strength and deep wisdom. Each and every word you speak will shine brighter and become more valuable. I'll return with more beneficial videos next time. Thank you.